first ing. When you wake up in the morning, before your mind starts racing with all the expectations of the day, take a moment to remind yourself of this simple truth. You are enough, exactly as you are. You don't need to prove anything to anyone to justify your existence. You don't have to become some polished, flawless version of yourself before you're allowed to feel worthy of love, respect, and peace. So many of us have spent years believing that we have to earn our value by pleasing others or achieving more. But the reality is, your worth isn't up for negotiation. It was established the moment you took your first breath. The world will try to convince you otherwise. It will tell you that you need to look a certain way, accomplish a list of milestones, or have the approval of people who don't even know your story. Every time you scroll through social media or compare yourself to someone who seems to have it all together, you're tempted to forget that your enoughness has never been conditional. It doesn't vanish when you fall short or make mistakes. It doesn't shrink when someone else shines. It doesn't require validation from a crowd. When you tell yourself each day that you are enough, you build an inner foundation that doesn't crack under pressure. You can walk into any room without shrinking to fit or inflating to impress. You can let go of that constant, exhausting performance and simply be present, knowing that who you are is already worthy of belonging. It doesn't mean you won't strive to grow or improve. It just means your growth will no longer be driven by shame or fear. Instead, it will be fueled by self-respect and curiosity. Somewhere along the way, you might have picked up the belief that being enough required perfection, that you had to never fail or falter. But look at the people you admire most. They aren't perfect. They're real. They're honest about their imperfections. They are human, just like you. And in that humanity, there is something beautiful and unshakable. When you start to truly embody this truth, something shifts inside you. You begin to trust your instincts more. You stop apologizing for simply existing. You become less desperate for approval and more rooted in your own quiet confidence. You can appreciate compliments without depending on them. You can withstand criticism without collapsing. That's what it means to know you are enough. So every morning, no matter what yesterday looked like or what today demands of you, pause for a moment and breathe this into your spirit. Say it out loud if you have to. I am enough exactly as I am, and let that reminder carry you through whatever comes next. Two things. Every one of us carries memories of moments we wish we could erase or rewrite, regrets, failures, words we spoke in anger or choices we made when we didn't know better. Sometimes those moments have a way of clinging to us, whispering that because we stumbled then, we're destined to stay stuck now. But that's simply not true. Your past does not define your future. It's just a chapter in a story that is still unfolding, and you hold the pen in your hand today. Too often, we allow old mistakes to become a prison. We replay the scenes over and over in our minds, rehearsing the guilt and shame until they feel like facts. But the truth is, you are not the same person you were back then. You have grown. You have learned. You have survived things you once thought would break you. Every experience, even the painful ones, has shaped your resilience and your wisdom. They taught you what you will no longer accept, how you deserve to be treated, and what really matters to you. When you tell yourself each day that your past doesn't get to dictate your destiny, you reclaim your power. You remind yourself that every sunrise brings an invitation to begin again. You don't have to keep carrying the labels others have tried to place on you. You don't have to keep believing the old stories that say you're not good enough or that you'll never change. Those stories are heavy, and they are not who you are. Real freedom begins when you decide to release yourself from that weight. It doesn't mean you pretend nothing ever happened. It means you acknowledge where you've been without allowing it to chain you to the same patterns. I mean, you acknowledge the pain that you felt, and that you acknowledge the pain that you've been without allowing it to chain you to the same path. You can look back with honesty and compassion, recognizing that those moments were part of your journey, but they do not have the final word about who you are becoming. People might try to remind you of your past, especially when they haven't done the work to heal their own. But you don't have to live your life defined by their memories of you. You are allowed to outgrow old versions of yourself. You are allowed to transform. You are allowed to rise. So when those familiar doubts creep in, when you hear that inner voice telling you nothing will ever change, pause and breathe. Speak this truth over yourself. My past does not define my future. It's just a place I visited, not the place I have to stay. And when you really start to believe that, you'll find the courage to keep moving forward. One choice, one moment, one day at a time. 3 things. Every day you wake up, you're given a choice that's more powerful than any circumstance you face. The choice of how you show up. You may not control every situation, every person, or every outcome, but you always have a say in the energy you bring to it all. When you remind yourself that you are responsible for your energy, you reclaim the authority over your inner world, no matter how chaotic the outer world becomes. It's so easy to blame other people for how we feel, to say, they made me angry or they ruined my day. But the truth is, while you can't always control what others do, you can always decide how you respond. You can choose whether to let someone's negativity poison your spirit or whether to protect your peace. You can choose whether to engage in drama or to walk away. You can choose whether to let fear dictate your actions or to respond with courage. Your energy is like a signal you broadcast into every space you enter. It affects the way people experience you and the way you experience your own life. If you carry resentment, bitterness, or judgment, it doesn't just weigh down the people around you. It also robs you of your own joy. But when you decide to cultivate gratitude, compassion, and calm, you become a source of light, no matter how dark the circumstances. Being responsible for your energy doesn't mean you have to pretend everything is fine when it isn't. It means you own your emotions without letting them own you. You can feel frustration or sadness without lashing out or shutting down. You can acknowledge your pain and still choose to respond with grace. That's real strength, staying anchored in your values even when the storms of life come crashing through. This choice becomes a habit when you practice it every day. When you catch yourself reacting on autopilot, pause, take a breath. Ask yourself, what kind of energy do I want to bring to this moment? That simple question can shift your perspective and soften your reactions. It can remind you that you don't have to be a victim of other people's moods or your own old patterns. You are free to choose a different way. The more you practice this, the more you'll notice that your peace no longer depends on everything going perfectly. You'll find a steadiness within you that circumstances can't shake. You'll discover a sense of freedom that comes from no longer outsourcing your happiness to anyone else. So as you move through your day, hold this truth close to your heart. I am responsible for my energy. Let it guide you to respond, not react. To bring light, not darkness. To be intentional, not impulsive. And to keep showing up as the person you are proud to be. 4 things. Somewhere along the way, many of us were taught to settle for less than we deserve, to tolerate disrespect in the name of keeping the peace, to shrink ourselves so others could feel comfortable, to excuse behavior that chips away at our spirit. But the truth you must tell yourself every day is this: you deserve to be treated with respect. Not because of anything you've earned or achieved, but because you are a human being with inherent worth. Respect isn't something you should have to beg for. It isn't a prize reserved for those who never make mistakes. It is the baseline of every healthy relationship and every meaningful connection. When you believe you deserve respect, you stop making excuses for people who can't offer it. You stop confusing love with tolerance of poor treatment. You stop confusing love with tolerance of poor treatment. You begin to see that how you allow others to treat you is a reflection of how you see yourself. This isn't about arrogance or entitlement. It's about understanding that your boundaries are an expression of self-respect. When you set limits, you're not being unkind. You're honoring your own dignity. When you speak up for yourself, you're not creating conflict. You're standing in your truth. And when you choose to walk away from someone who consistently dishonors you, you're choosing peace over chaos, healing over harm. It takes courage to embody this truth. There will be people who test your limits, who try to convince you that you're asking for too much. But respect is never too much to ask for. It is the minimum. You are not difficult for expecting to be spoken to with kindness. You are not demanding for wanting honesty, consistency, and care. You are simply clear about what you will no longer accept. Every day you remind yourself that you deserve respect. You strengthen your own sense of worth. You start showing up differently. You no longer feel the need to over-explain your boundaries or justify why you matter. You become grounded in the quiet confidence that you are allowed to take up space, to have needs, to say no. You begin to choose relationships that nourish you instead of depleting you. You begin to choose relationships that nourish you instead of depleting you. And the beautiful thing is, when you respect yourself, you naturally attract people who reflect that respect back to you. You set the tone for how others will engage with you. You show them by example what is acceptable and what is not. And even when people can't meet you at that level, you no longer feel obligated to stay and convince them to change. You can release them with compassion, knowing that protecting your peace is more important than clinging to something that hurts you. So let this truth settle into your spirit. I deserve to be treated with respect. Say it until you believe it. Say it until you live it. And say it until every part of you knows you are worthy of nothing less. 5th thing. There are moments in life when nothing makes sense. When the doors you prayed would open stay closed. When the people you trusted walk away. When the plans you built with so much hope crumble overnight. In times like these, it's easy to believe that everything is falling apart, but sometimes what feels like destruction is actually transformation in disguise. That's why you must remind yourself every single day that everything is working in your favor, even if you can't see it yet. This belief isn't about denying the pain you feel or pretending disappointment doesn't hurt. It's about trusting that there is a bigger picture you don't have the vantage point to see right now. Just because you can't understand the purpose doesn't mean there isn't one. Sometimes the delays you encounter are protecting you from what wasn't meant for you. Sometimes the endings are clearing the path for something better than you dared to imagine. When you hold on to the faith that life is unfolding exactly as it should, you give yourself the gift of patience and peace. You stop fighting every circumstance and start looking for the lessons hidden within it. You learn to ask, what is this trying to teach me, instead of why is this happening to me? That single shift in perspective can change how you experience every trial. It takes courage to trust in what you cannot see. It requires you to loosen your grip on control and surrender to the unknown. But think back to the moments in your past when things didn't go your way. How many times did those disappointments turn out to be blessings in disguise? How often did you look back with gratitude for the doors that stayed shut because they would have led you somewhere that wasn't meant for you? Every setback, every heartbreak, every delay has shaped you into the person you are now, stronger, wiser, more resilient. If you can look at your past and see how it all worked together for your growth, you can trust that what you're going through now will do the same. You don't have to see the entire path to take the next step. You just have to trust that each step is leading you somewhere meaningful. Reminding yourself that everything is working in your favor doesn't mean you won't have days when you feel frustrated or lost. It means that even in those moments, you choose to believe there is a purpose. You choose to trust that the timing of your life is perfect, even if it doesn't match your plans. You choose to believe that the universe, or whatever you call it, is conspiring to support you in ways you can't yet comprehend. So as you move through the uncertainties ahead, keep this truth close to your heart. Everything is working in my favor, even if I can't see it yet. Let that belief carry you through the waiting, the questioning, and the growing, because one day you'll look back and understand exactly why it all had to happen the way it did. Sixth thing, there's a voice inside so many of us that whispers, we have to get everything exactly right before we're worthy of trying, worthy of love, worthy of peace. That voice convinces us that if we can't be perfect, we shouldn't even begin. But life doesn't reward perfection. It rewards progress. And every day you have the chance to remind yourself that taking one imperfect step forward matters, far more than standing still while you wait to become flawless. Choosing progress over perfection is an act of courage. It means you're willing to show up as you are instead of hiding behind excuses and fears. It means you can start before you feel fully ready and learn along the way. It means you understand that growth doesn't look like a smooth upward climb. Sometimes it's messy and uncertain. Sometimes it feels like 2 steps forward and 1 step back. But every bit of effort counts. Every attempt, no matter how imperfect, moves you closer to the life you want. Perfection is a moving target that keeps you trapped in self-doubt. No matter how much you achieve or improve, it whispers that it's never enough. It convinces you that you're 1 mistake away from losing everything you've built. But progress is different. Progress celebrates effort. It honors the small victories. It gives you room to breathe, to experiment, to learn without shame. When you choose progress, you free yourself from the impossible standard that says you have to be everything to everyone all the time. Remind yourself daily that you are allowed to be a work in progress. You are allowed to have rough edges, unfinished goals, and unanswered questions. You don't have to wait until you have all the answers to take the next step. You don't have to wait until you feel confident to start showing up. You just have to be willing to keep moving, 1 decision at a time. Think about how many dreams have died because someone was too afraid to begin imperfectly. How many talents were buried under the weight of trying to do everything exactly right. Your life is too precious to waste chasing a version of yourself that doesn't exist. You don't need to be perfect to be proud of yourself. You don't need to be perfect to make a difference. You don't need to be perfect to be worthy of love and respect. So today and every day after, remind yourself that progress is enough, that every effort, no matter how small, is proof of your commitment to grow. that each time you choose to take action instead of waiting for the perfect moment, you honor your purpose and your potential. Say it out loud if you need to. Today, I choose progress over perfection. And let that truth give you the freedom to start, the courage to continue, and the grace to be proud of how far you've come.